Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Hey, everybody. It's Tom Dutta, like Butta. Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. I guess I don't have to say that because the guy in the intro says my name right, but I get called everything from Tom Dutta to Tom Delta. A little sensitive there. Welcome to the show, and I got to thank you because we are booked out now 4 months every week. There's a long list of wait. The show has grown now internationally, and it's because of you. So thank you for watching. What do you do when the lights go out, literally? Imagine waking up and realizing that sight you once trusted to navigate your world is slipping away. You're a young mother, a teacher, and suddenly you're told you shouldn't be in a classroom because parents might not want a blind teacher. You start believing the voices that say your future is gone. But what if the end of sight became the beginning of vision? Retinitis pigmentosa affects 1.5 million people worldwide. But few have turned darkness into global leadership like my guest. Today's guest, Victoria Nolan, faced that moment, and she chose to row forward the unknown. She went from isolation and fear to breaking world records on the water, representing Canada at 4 Paralympic Games and earning 8 international medals, including a Rio bronze, world champions. She became an author, a TV host, and the national manager at CNIB, helping others find courage in darkness. Now completing her executive MBA at Queen's University, Victoria proves that adversity doesn't define our limits. It reveals our depth. So today we ask, what if losing sight could help us all see what really matters? Leadership, resilience, and the light that lives inside of us. So stay with us because Beyond Vision isn't just her book title, it's a way of living. And now we welcome to the show Victoria Nolan. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. What was it like listening to how great you are for a minute?
It's pretty crazy, you know. Every time I hear it, I'm just like, wow, yeah, I remember those days when I did feel like I had no future. So it's pretty great to be here.
Yeah, and I got to honor you. And, you know, we have a couple things in common. I have vision limitations from a concussion, and we'll weave that in. The other thing I want to hold up here, and I know you know I have this because you mailed it to me. Look at this, everybody, this beautiful book. And Victoria, you can't see it, but there's about 20 sticky notes hanging off the side of the book where I've literally tagged up the page. And you even signed it. So I'm so grateful for that. But the book is called Beyond Vision, the Story of a Blind Rower by Victoria Nolan. So we're going to get started and ask you if you'd like to go into Plato's Garden to have some fun telling stories. Would you like to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, everybody. I'm going to put something on the screen here. You can see it, and I'm just going to start this off. So stand by. What would it be like to go into Plato's Garden with champion Victoria Nolan? Well, welcome to Plato's Garden, Victoria. And for the audience, Plato was an Athenian philosopher during the classical period in ancient Greece, founder of the Platonist school of thought, and then the academy, from the Greek word academia. Apparently, Victoria was the first institution of higher learning in the Western world. And so today, unlike other hosts where we are talking heads and you just talk and I listen, we're going to tell stories. But we're going to go through 3 different areas, and you won't know I'm doing this, but we're weaving your story through macro. Macro is what was happening in the global world around you that influenced your life and your work. 2 is mezzo, what was happening in the industry or sector where you did your work. And in this case, you're an author or you're an athlete, teacher. And 3, micro, my favorite, Victoria, because what was happening in your personal life that may have influenced your public works. And this is all about the great you. Victoria, setting the scene, taking us back to the moment you realized your eyesight was fading for good. What did that silence look like? And the first question in the micro is, you said you once felt you had no future. What was the first spark that told you otherwise?
So I was diagnosed with this eye disease when I was 18, but that wasn't really the start of the downfall for me, because, you know, I was diagnosed, but life went on the same way. It's like, oh, okay, that explains why I'm clumsy, and, you know, that's why I've been having problems. So life went on fine. I was in university, became a teacher.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was married and we decided to start a family, that's when I really started to feel what this disease was all about. It turned out that pregnancy can accelerate the disease.
Yeah.
Doctors warned me of that. They weren't sure it was going to happen, but it could.
Wow.
And yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to just put another camera on the screen here. I know you can't see this, but we're going to do it for the audience sake. Let me just rescroll. So everybody, that's my dash cam you can see in the studio. And what we're showing them, Victoria, is me holding the book. But I'm going to get into the book and share things with the audience because we want them to get this. But I'm just going to chapter 2, page 4. And you said something about diagnosed at age 18. The book's so riveting because it's a narrative. So I'm going to read it. And it says, this was a new doctor. He was very curt and didn't say much to us. He was using the light to look at the back of my eye and retina. He switched the light to the other eye, looked, and then snapped the light off. He turned the overhead lights on, but the sharp glaring in my eyes had exhausted all my perception, and I couldn't see much of anything. I blinked repeatedly, trying to see his expression. He turned to my mom and told her that I have an eye disease called RP. He said there was no cure and there was nothing we could do. He was so matter of fact and flippant about it that I shrugged it off. It seemed to be no big deal. Take us in that moment. I know it's painful hearing memories like that, but you're 18. Like, did you want to punch him out? Were you just like, okay, what is that all about? Or what was you feeling?
Yeah, I think I was very naive at that point. I mean, yeah, so the fact that he was so flippant, I'm like, okay, this is, you know, whatever, no big deal. He said there's nothing we can do, so there's nothing we can do.
Yeah,
As I saw you know, I was referred to another specialist, or actually my mom wanted a second opinion.
yeah,
That doctor told me that I should have, they're very vague, right? They don't want to commit to anything. So I should
sure.
have some sight for several decades. And so I think the naive part was, I was like, oh, well, when you get old, you lose your sight anyway. So what's the big deal?
Yeah, and just on that, like when somebody says some site, like what is define
Yeah.
some, please?
Hmm.
Wow, I just want to honor you and share something with you personally that I don't share this on the air very much, but everyone, I'm so inspired by you, Victoria, because you made me comfortable enough to talk about it. That in 2018, some know I had a concussion. I fell in a bathtub. I was doing the Ride for Cancer, and we had a team dinner. I went to shower before. It was like 225 kilometers on my bike, the ride to race. And I fell backwards, but I broke the fall with my head. It rammed into the tub. And the back of my tub, my head where the vision center is in my brain, snapped back, cracked the porcelain tub, blacked out. So when I was in the doc's office, reading this book and really makes me remember all this. And that's why it's so powerful, because I went through 12 doctors and most of them didn't know what they were doing. They were looking in the eye when they didn't realize it was in the head, the vision. And then they would say things like, oh, your eyes are just fine. The brain has its own timeline. But the thing that gut punched me was like your 18-year-old story I read. It reminded me that I got the first diagnosis a few years ago, and they said you have grade 9 vision. And I had permanent photophobia, light sensitivity, double vision, convergence, divergence. And that's where I started. So really incredible to read and hear your diagnosis. I want to get into another question for you. This was really heartwarming in the book. As a young mother adapting to blindness, how did your children become part of your courage story rather than your fear story? And tell us their names because they're really sweet. There's some pictures in the book.
So my son's name is Tarav. My daughter's name is Kaylee. They're both Gaelic names, Irish names.
Wow.
Yeah, Tarav is like Taurus. It's the Gaelic
Yep.
word for Taurus. Yeah.
Wow.
So how they became the motivator for me to get up and want to do something. I went through a really low point in my life.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to the point where I didn't want to leave the house. But one of the things that turned it around was I did not want my kids, as they got older, did not want them to see me as someone who couldn't do things. I felt like too often out of my mouth was, I can't do that. I can't read you that book. I can't take you to the park. I can't drive a car. And so finally it was just like, enough. I have to find something so that they would be proud of me.
Yeah. Boy, I bet you they are. I'm just going to put something on the screen again
Hmm.
to honor the book. So hold on, I'll just tell you what I'm doing. So everybody, you can see here on page 21, there's some beautiful pictures. There's a picture of you, Victoria, and you're looking down at Tarb. It looks like he's on Sandy Beach or something. And it says, making sure Tarb is in my sight.
Hmm.
And the one thing that stopped me on page 21 when I read this, it said, being a mom, and then 2003, your last ability to read text. Explain what that meant.
Yeah, so at the time I was into the Harry Potter books and I couldn't wait for the new one to come out. I had it on like pre-order and it arrived at my apartment. And I guess because I'd been so busy with a baby, I hadn't been trying to read. I hadn't even noticed that when I opened the book, I
Yeah.
could no longer make out the words. So that was
Wow.
pretty devastating. Yeah.
It's crazy, eh?
Hmm.
Of course, today in the world, I use audiobooks a lot now,
Hmm.
PDF readers. Actually, Victoria, what's really cool is if you have a physical book from somebody like you and there's an audiobook version, my publisher said read and listen to the audiobook at the
Hmm.
same time. It's a
Hmm.
great feeling. So let's go further here. Still in micro. From being afraid to leave your house to rowing on open water, what did that first stroke feel like? And tell us about that journey.
Being on the waters, it was just an incredible feeling, so freeing. Like when I growing up, gym class, any sports were a nightmare for me. I avoided them like the plague because when you have this eye disease, you lose your peripheral vision first. And so any kind of
Mm.
team sport, I was bumping into people, I couldn't track where the ball was, everyone was getting mad at me. So rowing, you get into this boat and you don't have to worry about any of that. All you have to worry about is learning the technique
Yeah.
and, building your strength. And when you get it right, it feels like you're flying. So yeah, I couldn't get enough of it.
Well, as Canadians who admire your achievements, you were flying. There's no question. I got to be honest with you. I got in a canoe 15 years ago and it tipped over in freezing water. And I ran away like a little boy and I was scared. And I learned to swim. My dad pushed me out of a boat and that was enough for me. But
Yeah.
I watched the rowers and oh my goodness, I had an experience once to try it. And yeah, it's quite something, especially when you have a team having to be in sync, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the crazy thing. It's like the ultimate team sport, right? After me saying I did no good at team sports.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Victoria's in Toronto, Canada, everyone. I don't know if I mentioned that up front. And of course, there's more sports going on. We'll timestamp this by saying the Toronto Blue Jays are in the World Series. Crazy, crazy times.
Yeah.
I'm back in the book here, and I'm just going to go to page 32. And this jumped out at me. I tagged it as rowing. The seed was planted, and it was actually planted by the Canadian National Institute for Blind. Or there was something where you learned about around the water. Can you just explain that? Because I thought it was quite really, really profound.
Yeah, so I wanted to find something to be passionate about, something that would get me out of the house, and I wasn't sure what it would be. And the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, at that time, they were encouraging people who were blind or had low vision to try sailing, because you can imagine how hard it is to never be able to drive and not have that sort
Yeah.
of yeah, that sense of over a vehicle, being able to control it. So sailing actually provides that in a much safer environment and in a way that's easier for people with blind or low vision. So I thought about that, and I was really looking for something more active, like something that was going to be, cardio. And so I think that idea of being on the water put me in mind of, oh, I wonder what rowing is like. Even though I didn't know anyone who rowed, I didn't even know if it was available in Toronto, but I decided I was going to look into it.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's back in the book here. It says at the front, the book is dedicated to Eamon, pardon my pronunciation, without whom none of this would have been possible. And then you dedicate to your children. Who is that? Is that your husband?
Eamon is my husband. Yeah.
Wonderful. How do you two meet?
We met in University of Toronto, and we both wanted to become teachers.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Eamon, we'll dedicate this to your whole family. There's a great picture in the book of him as well. He looks like he's a pretty happy person. Let me ask you a question about him, because this is evoked in me because of my experience with my wife. Anna and I will be married 30 years come January. She's from Italy, born in Rome. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. But when I became a shell of a person, when I fell on my head and I went into depression, I had a lot of other issues, and it took 5 years to walk straight and get all this stuff fixed. Today, I still have some challenges with vision. The toll it took on her, and I was told this by my psychiatrist, that they actually navigate through the pain with you. They try to be strong for you. Just tell us about that experience for your husband. What was his way of looking after himself, or how did he, remain strong through this, or was it difficult?
He's been incredibly strong through all of this. And yeah, I was the one who was crumbling and didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I always laugh when I say his advice to me was to look at things differently. I think that's the best advice he gave me, which is, I had in mind things were going to be a certain way. This is how you do things. And, that's not necessarily how things are going to play out. So you got to be flexible. You got to find other things to be passionate, other ways of doing things. And yeah, that was the best advice he could have given me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you both are sort of comedians, because you used a pun there. Look at the world differently. And I'm like, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm putting a quick picture on the screen here for the audience to see a dog. And what's the name of that dog?
I've had a few over the years, so I'm not sure which one. If it's
this is the one Shepherd? You sent me of you sitting on a bench with.
That's Chorizo.
Okay,
he's my current guide dog.
And what's with the name? Where did that come from?
So the guide dog school names them. They train at the guide dog school for 2 years. So I didn't have anything to do with the name, but it's pretty funny, because the dog I had before him was Alan. So talk about opposites, right? Alan's very serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we got Chorizo, the sausage.
Yeah, that's what I thought. First of all, I was telling you, Victoria, off screen, I thought it was a sausage dog. And then I went, oh, probably not.
Yeah.
Now this book, I'm holding it up again. So everyone, I'm encouraging you to get it. We'll be surprising Victoria soon with something about it, Beyond Vision. I really like the size of it. It's easy to hold and read. There is something in there about the guide dog. So maybe you can educate us for a moment. That I'll give you a few things I read, and you just expand. One is, apparently when you start learning to work with one, you have to go and stay for a period of time with them. You had a couple of strange experiences where getting on subway or getting on transit, they took your dog. You arrived at an airport for some other country, I guess, because of your Olympian sport, and your dog had to go back. Just talk about all that, because that's pretty resilient to get through that, but it's kind of crazy.
It is, yeah. So, when you train with the dog, it's pretty intense, as you can imagine. So you're expected to go and live away so that you can focus on bonding with the dog and learning all the techniques of how to work with them. Yeah. Having said that, there are now a lot of schools who will come and train you at your home, understanding that people have different lifestyles and commitments. So there is some flexibility there. But either way, it's pretty intense, learning how to work together. So the second thing that you mentioned is a pretty funny story in the book. So my first guide dog was a German Shepherd. Yeah. And we trained together for the 2 weeks. I went back home, and then they sent someone out to do sort of a spot check, see how we're doing. And so this trainer's following us. So we get on the subway in Toronto, and so Jetta is trained to find an empty seat and put her nose on the seat so that I could go and sit there. But she was consistently getting the seat right beside the door, which was, great for me. But I was like, that's kind of weird. That seat's usually full. So the trainer explained to me what was happening. When Jetta was getting onto the subway, she realized that, hey, she's a German Shepherd. So she would just kind of bare her teeth a little bit, and whoever was sitting there would move. I'd be like, oh, the seat's empty. Good girl. So she really actually, sweet. She was retired though, because that's not good guide dog behavior. So she actually became a police dog.
I remember that from the book, and I actually smiled reading it, because I could picture. I had this flashback in my mind to Stephen King's novel Cujo, and that, but it was much less. Back in the book here on page 7, you have some really fun quips in here. Just one of them comes out. I wrote on my sticky poker face, unable to see the cards, but I want to read this because it really is profound for people who aren't blind. When you can't judge what's going on around you, the atmosphere of a room, the vibe of a discussion, body language, facial expressions, you become very guarded in your own behavior. I have the world's best poker face. I only wish I could see the cards. So explain to us now, being on screen and doing podcasts or live stream, what's it like? What do you, how do you, what are you feeling? You know,
Yeah, it's really hard. Like I've never overcome that because I'm not getting that feedback.
yeah,
And so I do come across as very serious. Sometimes I come across as a snob, but I'm just being guarded because I don't know. I don't want to react, in the wrong way. So
yeah.
it makes me cautious. So it definitely is a detriment to social situations, but I think I'm an introvert naturally. If I was an extrovert, then I could be more like, oh, I don't care how I'm perceived. But being an introvert, I'm just more guarded. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a nice way about you. It's a welcoming way, but a sense of humor. And some people do that because of insecurity. Some do because it's naturally in them. I think you just naturally have a sense of humor.
Yeah. I
Comes
think
out in
it's
the
a
book.
coping mechanism too, though. It's
I
like,
think I think
yeah.
so. So, geez, I just thought about this now. It's like up until this point, when we're talking about how you feel on screen, I just didn't think about the fact that I'm not even sure if you know what I look like.
Nope. No idea.
So I'm going to try explaining what I look like to you. Okay.
Okay.
It's crazy. So I'm South Asian. My parents are from Fiji Islands. I was born in England on the way here on a military base because my dad was commanding officer. I'm Canadian, being here from the age of 3. I'm 5'11". I have olive complexion. I have reading sort of close-up glasses on in the studio to help me with my vision. I have a bit of a stubble today, a little bit, because I wanted to look natural, and I knew you couldn't tell. So it's like, who cares about shaving this morning? And during COVID, I decided, my daughter thought it would look good, but I made a mistake trying to cut my own hair. So I basically shaved my head. So I've had a bald head for years, and my wife says it looks really good. So that's me. There
Awesome.
you
go. Thank you.
I'm wearing a black t-shirt too. Okay. Something else from the book here, and then we'll move on to Mezzo, which is the really the influence of the sector on you and your work. There's something in here, chapter 3, about Union Station. And I just put on my sticky Union Station, White Cane, the World Cup of Traveling Blind, Union Station, Toronto. Just tell us a bit about that experience and what that was about.
Yeah, so navigating with a cane is not easy, as you can imagine. Union Station, if you've ever been there, the chaos. And this was written a long time ago, so I really have no idea what it's like now. But back then, it was just people moving in every possible direction, right? There was GO trains, there's subways, there's buses, people going to the taxis. There's just people in every direction. And everyone's busy, right? No one's looking where they're going.
Yeah.
They're looking up at signs or looking at their watches. So I would literally have to take a deep breath before I tried to move across that open area to try and get where I was going, and just hope for the best that I wouldn't get into some incident. Yeah.
Couldn't imagine. And it's part of me having grown there's just because of what I've navigated with vision. I walk around the trails. There's a place I live, Burrard Inlet is a body of water. And if you actually put a boat in that or a rowing in there, you could row from there to the Pacific Rim. That's how it's connected to and I was having some rough times. So I would go for walks, Victoria, just to calm myself. And I need to be by the water. And once I just decided to close my eyes and experience the world through my other senses. And the first thing I realized is, wow, this is amazing, because I heard sounds and things I'd never heard. And it was mentally calming, but also realized, well, these trails aren't made for people to be accessible. And so that's the other thing is, tell us about that, how it's been, even as a Paralympian, traveling, navigating the world when maybe things aren't as accessible.
Yeah, I've had a real mixture of both. Europe is very challenging because everything is old, right? It's not rectilinear, and things are crooked and small and uneven. So that was always a challenge. But also traveling with the national team, we were often in venues, especially for like the Olympics and Paralympics. Those venues have to be made accessible. So then you'd have the opposite, where everything was just like amazingly laid out. There was help wherever you needed it. Yeah, and different countries too. So yeah, Europe was tricky, but there's definitely been, bits here and there. Like Germany had amazing service in their airport, and actually China put in these amazing tactile routes on their sidewalks. And so nowhere's
Hmm.
perfect, but if we could put it all together, it
Yeah.
would be amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I just did an interview actually on a boat, his boat, Rick Hansen, man.
Hmm.
And yeah, and it was one of the greatest experiences. But I went on his boat with him and sat, and he was in his wheelchair across, and we talked a lot. He talked a lot about accessibility,
Hmm.
and it was remarkable because he had to custom build a fishing boat that they use for the outdoors, and you never take it for granted. Even getting on there in his wheelchair, you had to wheel
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Let's ask you this. You were once told, and it's in the book somewhere. It's a really tough thing to read. Actually, made me angry. But you were once told uh, parents might not want a blind teacher for their children. What did
Hmm.
that moment reveal to you about the system we work within, the stigma in education, sport, or corporate life, and how they shape belonging in the world?
Yeah, that was the ultimate letdown for me, especially with it being in the field of education. I expected that to sort of be, the pillar of where we are aspiring to be.
Yeah,
Um, I was shocked that, not being able to have the support, not just for employment, but just to be a role model for kids too. We have kids in our schools with disabilities, and who are they looking up to? It all came crashing down pretty hard.
yeah. Page 28, there was a passage, and I put a little sticky dream stealer, and that was talking about this experience where
Hmm.
that you were told that. But you're pretty. I think that's why a lot of people follow you. Obviously, you're resilient, and it's your attitude. What do you think about this? Do you think a big part of your perseverance is mental toughness and your attitude?
Yes, I definitely think a lot of it has come from overcoming this disability, but I think there was also just some mental toughness in me to begin with.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I don't know. I remember reading a book when I was young, and in the book there's a young girl. She's an accident on a swing, and she's not able to walk anymore. And she kind of gives up, and she's like, keeps her curtains closed in her room, and she's miserable. And then this cousin comes to visit whom she never met, and the cousin is in a wheelchair and is doing all these amazing things, and the cousin inspires her to, get up, and there's still so much you can do. I remember reading that even as a young child and being like, that's the kind of person I want to be. So I
That's
don't know where
cool.
it came from. Yeah, but it
Yeah,
was definitely in there.
yeah, and like your mom and dad, we haven't talked too much about them, but who do you think shaped you the most, and why?
Um, a combination of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My dad is very resilient as well. And my mom was very supportive, so I had both sides of it there.
What was their vocation, or did they work both of them, or one, or?
Yeah, so we came from England. We moved from England, and so my dad is a mechanical engineer. My mom's trade in England was seamstress, which wasn't really
Mhm.
recognized here.
Yeah,
So yeah, so she did work in furniture,
interesting.
upholstery. Yeah, yeah.
And you were born here, right?
No, I was born in Liverpool, England, and I came
Ah,
here when I was 5.
okay. So like
Yeah.
me, I came here when I was probably a 4, born in Tidworth, Hampshire. My dad took reel-to-reel audio tapes, and I had a very thick accent, and yours is
Right?
gone.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish it'd be cool just to have a little bit of that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Too funny.
Yeah.
All right, we're still in Mezzo here, everybody. Plato's Garden with Victoria Nolan, author of the book Beyond Vision, the story of a blind rower. You've led in classrooms and on teams, and now at the CNIB, and not everybody will know what that is, so you can tell us. But what have you learned, Victoria, about how institutions respond to difference and how leaders can challenge that conditioning from within?
I have learned that unfortunately it is very slow to change. We're still nowhere near where we should be as far as inclusion and attitudes towards
Yeah,
people with disability. I've learned that it has to be a whole organizational shift. It has to be a cultural shift, and I think that's why it's taking so long.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm back in the book on page 42 here and looking at a picture where you're sharing a medal with Tara, and it's actually I put a sticky first gold medal. So for those on the feed who maybe don't know about what you actually achieved, you achieved a lot. Just tell us about that experience, the first gold medal, or anything at all, the lead up to it, etc.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I took up rowing to make my kids proud, and I really just intended to participate. I just wanted them to be able to say, like, yeah, my mom's blind, but she can row. It obviously grew much bigger than that as I
Yeah.
got more and more into it. So that first gold medal was really just a local race. I think there were only even 2 boats in the race, and we won, but he was like over the moon, gold medal. He was very young, so he was so proud of me. But honestly, that would have been enough for me. And then,
Yeah.
I got invited to try it to the national team. I've competed at 8 world championships. We broke the world record in 2010 in New Zealand.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we were the first Paralympic rowing team to win a medal at the games. That was in Rio. We won bronze. So yeah, a lot of firsts.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'm just going to put on the screen. I know you can't see it, but for the audience, it'll honor you. In the book here, everyone, here's a picture. Just trying to see. Yeah, it's a picture of the Canadian flag being held, and underneath the caption says "World Champions," and it's pretty amazing. We'll give you there's a Canadian round of applause for you. But this was New Zealand. That's where that was, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were there with the whole Canadian team. That was a bit of a journey as well to be accepted. We were the first Paralympic rowing team. And so, yeah, just being accepted as athletes with disabilities, even on Team Canada, took some time.
Very interesting. And then another sticky in the book here, guide dog taken away entering New Zealand. His name was Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why was that? Was it just that papers or something?
Yeah, it was paperwork. And so it was the Rowing Canada was the organization that was, organizing the travel and everything. And I don't know what happened with the communication there, but there was one paper that wasn't filled out properly, which for some reason it was like New Zealand's I forget what they were called, their bio something department phoned us the day of the flight to say that he wasn't going to be admitted.
Oh my God.
It was devastating. Because you can imagine if you're separated from your pet, for those of you who have pets, right? But a guide dog is beyond that, because my guide dog goes everywhere with me. He's saved my life. He's beyond family. And so having him taken away, I still had to go. We'd been training for 4 years for this competition. And so I left him with a staff member at Rowing Canada in Vancouver Airport and flew to New Zealand. It was tough.
Man, again, you're telling the story, but I can't imagine. I mean, getting on that flight, and then were you by yourself? And then what was it like getting off the flight in this one part of your life, your guide dog, which was no longer there? How did you actually get through that next offboarding the flight?
Yeah, so I was actually with my team, so I would just hold my teammate's arm, which hard to describe what that feels like. It's not very empowering to be relying on holding someone's arm and kind of shuffling behind them, right? And then besides, of course, not having my right-hand man with me, but the way that I got through that one, again, this whole theme of looking at things differently, it's like, okay, this is happening. How am I going to move forward? Because it's not going to change. And so I decided to use all of the frustration and the upset and focus that into the next few weeks of training leading up to the competition. And I decided I wasn't coming home without a medal. I was going to make it worthwhile. If this is going to happen, then I've got to be successful.
Well, as you know, and you've been told by the people around you, that just hearing that, everybody come back, listen to that answer, that is inspirational. You are so resilient, because I can tell you now, I guess, I don't think everybody could do that mentally getting stressed down about a situation like that. I read it also in the book. There was this one passage, again, it was about a streetcar, and something was going on where you're born, and I wrote the note having to prove you were blind.
Yeah.
Just talk about that, because that's part of the stigma, right?
Yeah, so I had an identification card. CNIB gives you a photo ID card because you are able to ride the public transit for free. So you show your card and you get on. And so at that time, I still had enough vision that I was walking around with just an identity cane. But if you look at my eyes, it looks like I can see even now. Like there's no visual damage to my eyes. I can even look like I'm making eye contact because I can hear where your voice is coming from, right? And
Sure.
look in that direction. So yeah, the streetcar driver saw me get on and he's like, "You don't look blind." And he took the pass off me, confiscated it, and kicked me off of the streetcar.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I've been accused many times of faking it. And yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
I mean, what a cruel world, and I'm sorry you went through that. Here's again, the beauty, I think, Victoria, of writing a book. You may know this yourself, but I believe when somebody reads a word or a statement in your book, it triggers their brain to go internally and find something. And I kind of say, like, I learned this in my doctorate degree I just finished, that the more I learn about you, the more I learn about myself. And here's what triggered when I read that in your book. True story. I have one of those handicap decals on my car, and the doctor approved it, but I'm not totally blind, but I do have limitations. And I park in handicaps, but I get out of the car, and I'm not kidding you, maybe 50-50, people gonna stare down at me. They give me these dirty looks like, well, you don't look like, and I'm a still pretty young guy.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit of shame. I mean, I just carry myself through it. I've gotten used to it, but that's part of the stigma, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's Rick Hansen told me that when we did that interview. I mentioned that we think of a disabled person, he said, as a stick man in a wheelchair, but there's millions who have disability. If you weren't wearing your dark glasses, I wouldn't know that you have that vision issue. Well, with me, people will think you're faking it.
Yeah.
But we push on. I did some research before the show. I just want to read this out and have you comment if there's anything to add, because I can't assume the audience understand retinitis pigmentosa. Tell me what you think. So retinitis pigmentosa is a group of inherited retinal diseases causing gradual loss of vision as photoreceptor cells, rods, and cones degenerate. It leads to night blindness, tunnel vision, and eventually central vision loss. Onset can occur from childhood to adulthood. And then the last thing is stats, which kind of blew my mind. It affects approximately 1 in 3 to 5,000 people worldwide, and there's 1.5 million people globally or so who have it. It represents one of the most common inherited retinal diseases. And when it comes down to positive news, apparently emerging science, and there might be hope that gene therapy and optogenetic treatments show potential of restoring partial vision, and stem cell research. Like, anything you want to say about all that? If I was not right, just tell me.
Yeah, no, that's all correct. But there's over 100 different types within retinitis pigmentosa. And so there have been some cures for certain types of RP. My particular strain, there isn't anything yet, but we're hopeful. There's a lot of different things in the works.
Yeah, that's great. We're down to the last third of the interview, just letting you know, because I know you can't see a clock there. You're doing awesome, by the way. Are you still having fun?
I'm having fun. Yeah, this is great. You're very easy to talk to.
Oh, thank you. So the world of elite sport is often about perfection and control, in my opinion. I know I've interviewed a lot of athletes. And how did that culture help or hinder your ability to lead through vulnerability?
What I loved about Paralympic sport is that the way the coach is working with each athlete to make you your absolute best. Like, how can each athlete perform at their absolute best? And having that mindset, it's a level playing field. So, we're all working towards the same sort of output, just getting there in different ways. So being able was a thrill for me, because like I said, there were so many things in my life that it was like, I can't do this, I can't do that. all of a sudden it's like, I can do this. I just have to put in the time and train and follow these, these workouts, this prescription of what I need to do each day, and I can succeed. So I loved it. I thrived in it.
That's awesome. I mean, just getting to know you, and I use personality science in some of my education work with leaders. And some people their personality is wired to, fulfill their life by getting things done, moving from A to B. And you seem like a resilient, driven person in many ways. And that's what I thought when I read about the rowing. You had something to hold on to that drove you.
Yeah.
You got up every day, and now I think what people realize listening to you is you've attached purpose to it, because you're doing some work with CNIB and all this stuff. Tell us what you do in leadership for CNIB.
So I'm a national manager for a new initiative that we started to support kids and families across the country. For a long time, CNIB, so that's our National Institute for the Blind, it was really known for supporting elderly people. So we've made a conscious effort to really support kids in the education system and to give parents the information and support they need to help their kids thrive.
That's really good. Hey, we're just going to do a little repositioning of you on screen. So just lean a little bit to the other side. That's perfect. Okay, you're back.
Thank you.
That's great. It's like, is she tired of me? She's going to sleep on me. You got a great sense of humor. I got this part in the book here. I'm going to hold it up again to the camera. You can't see it, and I'll explain it. See, everybody, there's a bunch of rowers in a boat. But this really blew me away, and I'll just read and get you to talk about it. I spent most of the night going over our race plan and visualizing the technical details I had to remember. And there were 4 of them. Sit tall, keep hands level, straight all the way in and out. Make sure the hands clear the knees before moving forward. Glide the slide. I fell asleep playing it over and over in my head. How the heck, when you're there and you can't see, do you actually keep all that? Like, how do you do that when you're blind?
It's a feeling, it's a rhythm. It's almost like dancing. And I did take dance classes when I was younger and had more sight. But it is very much like you can just like muscle memory and just remembering how things feel. And like I said, the coaches would help me with that. So it's like we would have conversations. It's like, how can you remember to, keep your hands level? And so they would show me what it felt like. And then I'd remember what that feeling was like, it was just, I loved the problem solving. And then I loved the sort of creativity of that dance-like feel. Yeah.
See, that's a good, everybody, this is why we do Play-Dohs, because what we're doing is Victoria is telling stories in these 3 areas, macro, mezzo, and micro. But what the audience gets to do, Victoria, is what we don't do well as humans is critical thinking, where we take all that and mesh it together and figure out a deeper meaning. And this part about dance, that's another nugget, because my granddaughter and my daughter, when she was younger, we did ballet, but you see the drills over and over and over again. And my understanding of neuroscience from my brain recovery is neural pathways are created just by repetition. And you can actually close your eyes and do things because your brain, I think it's automatic. So I think that's what you were trying to tell us there, which is cool.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to share with the book you to talk about back to me is the book. Sometimes it's hard to read because there's such graphic thoughts about like the blisters on your hand and the pain. And I wanted to hear more, but again, there's one page that stood out here, page 108, chapter 14, Beijing. You had a blood clot from overtraining or something. You were off training for 18 days. They put you on blood thinners. You had to really reach deep for mental toughness. Something was happening in your sport at that time. Just fill us in on that.
So, I decided to do some training on my own to catch up to the level where my teammates were at. And I overdid it. I was training with a martial arts instructor, and my arm, after one of the sessions, my arm just kept swelling up, and we couldn't figure out why. Turns out it was a blood clot in my shoulder. But I couldn't tell anybody because at the same time we were all competing for seats to go in the Beijing Games. And so if I had told the team that I was going through this, that would be an easy cut, right? I would be out of the boat. So I went through it, through the training, through selection, everything, kind of doing this in secret. I was getting injections in my stomach for blood thinners, and yeah, it
Oh
was a
my God.
crazy time. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
ended up winning my seat. And yeah, even while we were there in Beijing, I was still getting treatment during competition.
It's amazing. I would imagine like you're around athletes, and we never know as the general public just some of them perform through the worst injuries, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's take a right turn into the last segment of macro, which is the global influences. So just to make that understandable for the audience, let's just say like my grandfather, he grew up during the Great Depression and the Second World War. So when we would have dinner, sometimes he would get angry at the TV because he didn't like the commercialization, and he would say things like, "What a bunch of shit." When I was a kid, we had an orange, and that's what we played with. So sometimes there's things that were in the world happening around us that influence us. So that's this segment here.
Okay.
So when you think about blindness and disability globally, what patterns do you see in how societies frame ability, contribution, and worth?
I think people will have a real fear of blindness. I'm not sure. My theory is, so this, people are actually terrified of it. So my husband has told me there are people who will like bless themselves. There's people who like yank their children away, like out of my path.
Wow.
And I think it really is just a lack of awareness and understanding. You fear what you don't know.
Mhm.
And so I think that's something that's missing. There's just not enough representation of people who are blind or low vision in the media. There's not enough just stories about it and information about it. And so yeah, it is terrifying, and people are terrified of us and don't want to talk to us or deal with us.
Yeah, they just don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 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 crazy. Uh, would that be fair to say then? Like you do public speaking and a lot of work in public, a lot of people who are blind wouldn't do that, but it seems like it's you're trying to make a difference in that area, right? With
Yeah.
education.
Definitely,
Yeah,
yeah. That's always been my thing through the book, through my public
yeah.
speaking. There's a movie being made about my life story. I'm very thrilled about that because I'm hoping that'll reach a wide audience. And yeah, just to educate and raise awareness.
Well, tell us about that movie. What's the deal with that?
So it's just based on my life story.
Yeah.
It was filmed this summer, so we have some actors who are sort of well known and by Canadian standards who are playing myself and my husband, and yeah, just going through the story, like the diagnosis and then finding rowing. But the angle of this movie that I think is really powerful is the story of more about my husband and his support, and how that really allowed me to succeed in having
Yeah.
that
Wow.
love. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. See the credits of Eamon's name up there.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And, I'm just going to put it out there. You come back again, okay, so we can talk about the movie
Okay, sounds good.
and tell us how we can watch it.
Yeah.
Interesting that when I do, I do training of leaders. I am a CEO from industry, but 10 years ago, I started my platform to educate. And there was a video somebody sent me of a blind person who climbed Everest, and you might know it. I forgot the name, but they filmed that. And there was this one segment where he had to go across this ravine where there's like this rope bridge, and like if you fall down, you're done. And I write in the elements of Everest, and I just watching that. And what they did was the camera, using the trick of the camera, they blurred the screen so the audience watching could see that he was navigating pretty much blind. It was the most profound thing I ever saw, and I can't wait to see your movie there.
Yeah, he's using some tricks like that too. So yeah, I think it'll be very powerful.
Oh,
Yeah.
how cool is that? Your kids are going to be so proud.
Yeah.
Okay, Beyond Vision feels like both a title and a metaphor for our time. What do you think humanity is still blind to, and what would it take for us to see differently?
I've been really lucky to be able to experience firsthand what humans are capable of. Like it really is incredible. And I know we hear all the time, like it's mind over matter, and anything is possible. But I've really lived it and experienced it. And I think people don't realize that when you can't see what's outside, you have to look inside, right? And that's what you're focused on, and that's what you're able to use to move forward. I think people need more of that to realize what they're capable of.
Wow, that's so profound, that inner world. I've heard people refer to it that way, right? The inner
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a revelation for you from me. Just again, you're so open to share. I trust you. I've said this publicly because I've learned so much about myself. That's why I do this. That when I've started podcasting, and I'm bragging now, but we're over 330 interviews. We're one of the few
Wow.
shows,
Amazing.
and being rated in the top 20 Canadian leadership podcasts twice in the last 2 years. No bragging.
Wow. Yeah. Congratulations. My gosh.
That's why it's awesome. But here's the thing. When I first started doing podcasting, I had a TV tray with a cheap mic in my living room, and I didn't like the way I looked. I thought I was ugly, or I just didn't look good. And as I interviewed, I would stare at myself in the screen, because how many times in life do we see ourselves in the screen? We don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying, because I'm visual, I was trying to interpret all the time what I look like and what my body language was. It was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized, Victoria, through doing my own psychology, was that my inner world, I came up through a life that was tougher. My dad was military, but he was addicted to alcohol. But I was picked on for my skin and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
called names in school, fatso, Hindu. And that wiring, it goes deep in the brain when you're a child, and words can then replay, almost like PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
So I overcame all of that in a way I didn't ever imagine. And I'm so much more stronger now, but not minimizing, being blind. But sometimes I wish I couldn't see, because you can't unsee sometimes cruelty.
Right. Right.
All right,
think
yeah.
I was just going to say, I think it's not minimizing blindness, because I think, yeah, like everyone has their challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, yeah, being able to look, at how you can move forward rather than what's out there influencing you. You can't control everything that's out there, but you can control what you do.
No, well said. And then I think about corporate world, where they call blind spots, where the leader can't see their impact on others.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why you've got such great metaphors about leadership and the writings you have. All right, we're getting close to the end here. We have a couple more things, and then we're going to honor you. Are you ready to be honored?
Ready, yeah.
Okay.
Curious.
All right, before I do that, this is a segment we've been having fun with. It's called The Book Unwritten, and no wrong answers, but you've written this great book. I'll hold it up again because we want to get awareness. Beyond Vision, the story of a blind rower by Victoria Nolan. It's a cool cover, by the way. So you've written this, but every story has an unwritten chapter. So if you could add one more chapter, one more word to this book, one that hasn't happened yet, what might it be, and what truth would it reveal about who you're becoming? Anything at all.
I would love the next chapter to be about how I help influence change of attitude in employment for people with disabilities. I feel like that's an area of my life I never have managed to conquer, as far as being able to achieve my definition of success in employment. I've kind of been held back, so that would be the next chapter for me.
That deserves an applause. Victoria, the world changer. You know this, and I'm so proud of you. You've already changed the world. Here you are. You already have things in you want to do that you haven't done yet. And I think that's just you moving forward. All right, now we're going to honor you with a book review. I love this part because it's me. There's the book again, and this is now posted on Amazon in Canada. It should be live soon. So I'm just going to read it out to you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And everybody, you can see I've got it in my hand on paper. So it's a 5-star review, and the title is A Journey That Lets You See the Courage in a Whole New Way. Here goes. I just finished the 171-page paperback edition of Beyond Vision and absolutely loved it. It's compact size, easy to carry, read on the go, and impossible to put down. Victoria Nolan's storytelling pulled me right into her world, from the shock of being diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa at 18 to facing the painful judgments of others who said parents wouldn't want a blind teacher for their children. Her honesty about the mental and emotional battles of motherhood, identity, and basic daily life after vision loss, it hit me hard. The turning point, though, discovering rowing, unfolds like a movie scene. It's visceral, emotional, and full of grit. I could feel the spray of the water and the weight of every stroke as she transforms from fear to a medal-winning world champion Paralympic rower. This isn't just a sports memoir, it's an invitation to reimagine resilience. The photos of her Olympic triumphs bring those moments to life, and her partnership with her guide dog, Chorizo, added warmth and humor that stayed with me long after I closed the book. As someone living with partial vision impairment from a concussion myself, I found deep personal connection here. Reading Nolan's journey reminded me to value the sight I still have and to recognize that vision is about far more than eyes. Beyond Vision, the book belongs on every Canadian's reading list. It's inspiring, humbling, beautifully written, a story of leadership, courage, and the unstoppable human spirit by Tom Dutta. Wow. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a fellow author, and to those who haven't written books, nobody knows about it unless we have reviews. So yeah. That's it. That's great. And then finally, we have this, and you can't see it, but I do this all the time on screen, but I'll be mailing it to you. You're getting inducted into the Quiet Warrior community with an award. Did you know that?
I did. I think I read. Yeah, I know about the coins, right?
Yeah, that's great. And I was thinking, like, how honor for me, because you're an Olympian who has gold medals. This pales in comparison, but I have my own gold medal. So this is a challenge coin, and I'm just talking it out with you. The front of it, somebody can maybe, when you get it, just describe it.
Yeah.
They're hand painted and crafted. They're pretty hefty. The front of it has an image of the show itself. It says the Quiet Warrior Show, and there's sort of a raised image in gold and black of me wearing a leather jacket. That's my image on my show. The back of it is the hero's journey narrative by Joseph Campbell, completely illustrated. It's extremely intricate, and what you see is it says the hero's journey, where you go through separation, descent, initiation, and return, and then all the little steps along the way that people take when they have a setback, get angry, do something with it, go back in the world to change it. It's my favorite part. And do you know the origin of these coins?
No.
I'll tell you. They were challenge coins surfaced in World War I, Victoria. The practice of carrying a coin designed specifically for a unit was popular with Army Special Forces. They carried them at all times and presented it when challenged to prove affiliation within the unit. And sometimes if you didn't have your coin, it resulted in a consequence, like you bought drinks at the officer's mess. Because the coinless soldier is still popular today. And these now are around the world, like first responders. There's so many versions. I know people who actually collect them. So welcome to the Quiet Warrior community. You're part of this for life.
Thank you so much. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's for me too. And what I ask is, if you, when you get it, somebody can, with an iPhone or something, take a photo of you somewhere meaningful.
Yeah.
And I collect that. So we'll get your address offline. Okay. Now, we have, before we give you the last word, one more question. And this segment is, we wrap up with, is called the Warrior Torch. So the last guest left a question for you, and we get to ask you that. So Victoria, if you could do one thing that would change the world for the better, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. You stumped me now.
I know, hey, it's so bad.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if I could have people who are living with blindness and low vision accepted as everyone else.
Yes. Awesome. Well,
I'm
going to
big deal. No small feet there.
That's what they call a BHAG, a big area audacious goal. That is awesome. Everybody, I want to shout out to Trevor Stevenson, who just left that question. And he's a Quebecer, young guy, and he didn't know about you, but thank you for answering that question. So now, before I move to wrap us up, I want to give you the last word. Anything you want to say that you haven't said to the audience? Where can people get a hold of you in your book?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Victoria Nolan. You can find me on Instagram @blindrower. And I also, very quickly, but I also released another book with a colleague of mine. And if you're having any challenges, not just with blindness or low vision, but any kind of loss or challenge, the book is called Refocus. And it takes you through a journey of how to deal with those challenges. It's applicable to any kind of difficulty. So you can check that out as well.
Yeah. Do you have a website with anything on it?
Yes. My website is beyondvisionspeaks.com.
Okay. I'm just writing a note here for my show notes. Beyondvisionspeaks.com. Give a shout out to your co-author. You wrote a book with somebody.
Dr. Sean Maloney.
Doctor in the house. Congratulations.
Yep.
I'm gonna get that book. I read probably 4 a month. And we have somebody who made a comment. I'm going to put it on screen here. You can't see it. I'll read it to you. She said, "Thank you for sharing your uplifting and being an example of resilience story, giving others hope and faith to overcome their own challenge!" Exclamation mark.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm going to say thank you to Anna Dutta, my wife, because that was from her. It's what we do, Victoria, is we etch the comment in the show, so it's permanently in the show for you. But she's at work, working hard. She works with the World Bank in an estate planning role, and she's cheating by watching. I always love her for doing that. So.
Thank you, Anna.
All right, I'll tell her you said that. Anyway, everybody, find your true passion like you absolutely feel here from Victoria, and live your life with purpose, but live the life you deserve and desire. And Victoria, it's been a real honor. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you again on the Quiet Warrior Show.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Stand by.
Thank you for listening to the Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca.
You just stay on there for a minute. Now I'm just going to take it offline. Everybody can still see us, and I'm hitting the end stream button.